All right, everyone, welcome back to Discover Your Potential. We have an amazing guest sitting with me, Nathan Grimmond. So, Nath, just so everyone knows about who you are, maybe just explain firstly what you do and who you are.
Okay. So I'm an architect builder. I have a construction company here on the Gold Coast, and we service all the really high-end sort of custom homes.
Yep, beautiful. Nath, obviously you've gone through a bit of a journey personally, and I think where you're at now with your business is phenomenal. And I would say we're interviewing emerging and established leaders, and I think, to be honest, you're emerging and probably just taken off, to be honest, right now. But I always start this podcast with one question, and what does the title Discover Your Potential mean to you?
Okay. On the spot. So, potential. First of all, to have potential, everyone has the potential, but you need to believe that you have the potential. And for me, I didn't believe I had it. And it took a very special individual to put that belief in me and go, okay, fuck, I can do it. And there was that belief that carried me through.
Yeah.
So everyone has enormous potential and we will have power to change the world and shift planets, right? But unless you believe it in your heart, and it may not be because you think you can't do it or this, it's just you may think you're not worthy. You've had a rough childhood or whatever, and you just think you're not worthy of that thing, but we all are. You know? So I think when you start to live a pure life, do good things, practice these, you start to realise that we're all connected, and you start to realise your unlimitless potential is just going for it.
Yeah. I mean, you're so right. It's actually, everyone's got it within them. It's believing it, though, to start with, is where you take that first step. In your early stages in life, you shared with me last week that your father was in the army. And I just want to ask the question around, do you feel with your father being in the army, did you learn any resilience or adaptability to moving around as a kid? Did that install in you a little bit, do you feel now?
Looking back, it's easy to see.
Yeah.
It's always nice to connect the dots afterwards. I was pissed off when I was younger, just shifting around all the time.
Yeah.
But Dad did what he had to do with having children so young. So he joined the army and we were just, I was never more in a school for more than a year, So especially primary schools, some years I'd be in 2-3 different schools. Wasn't towards the back end of primary school, so I sort of got a bit more settled. And then even high school, I went through 3-4 different ones. But what it taught me was that I had to make friends all the time. And because I was always coming in late, people already got their friendship groups. And then I'd be a new starter there and I'd be like, hey guys, what's up? And then I'd have different values and different beliefs and be treated differently because of that. So I was always trying to fit in. And always wanting approval of others, which is not the best thing.
Yeah.
But it just was something that I was sort of urged. I wanted to belong. So that can lead you down the wrong path and it can lead you down the right path depending who you're surrounding yourself by.
Yeah. So obviously about that, I moved only once when I was a kid, and I would never forget the first day I was in assembly and every single kid is looking at you because you're the new kid. And I thought, wow, this is one of the toughest things ever. And very lucky that I had sport to maybe back myself up with that to, connect. But you shared a little bit about obviously that ability to connect, and obviously doing it so frequently is very tough, especially as a kid, because you're trying to find yourself in that format as well. Can you share just a little bit about that journey and, as you said, connect with the right or the wrong crowd and where that went for you at that time?
Yeah, okay. I think you can get lost. My parents were amazing, man. That's so beautiful. They gave me everything I needed, proper values, morals. I knew I was a good kid, you know what I mean? And I think I went from the being good at school to slightly rebelling because the other kids were, and, started going down that path because that was cool. And then all of a sudden my grades and everything dropped off. And then that stuff wasn't of value to me. But being I studied now as an adult to be an architect. I wanted to do that as a kid.
Yeah.
But I lost foresight of it and was like, I don't even care about that anymore. I just care about being with my group of friends.
Yeah.
Right? So that gets lost. And you need to have someone that's backing you all the time or in your corner, reminding you who you are. And if you're on your own journey, sometimes it's good. Like in my case, it's good in retrospect because I know where I've gotten to now and I've formed my own character through that process.
Yeah.
But through it, you're just full of doubt. And like that doubt scares you in a way, and then that's why you do jump in and you want to feel part of something. It's sort of what happens with biker clubs and that sort of stuff. You know, a lot of those people are just guys wanting to belong. They don't want trouble.
Yeah.
You know, they're just like, I feel a part of something, you know. So that's where that psychology sort of comes from. But yeah, for me, I sort of went down the wrong path a bit.
Yep.
Always thought I was a good guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got in a bit of trouble when I was younger, got in a fight. The guy ended up in a coma. And yeah, it was years of going through the law system and court and all that sort of stuff to prove that I was in the right. But unfortunately, I hit him twice instead of once. So I got in trouble for it. So I paid my dues for it. I went to prison, came out, and yeah.
Yeah. But even at such a young age too, like 18.
18 it happened to me, yeah.
But just that, what you just talked about is that connection to something and having something of a belonging, a brotherhood or a group or something now, you know, to belong to something. We still probably do it to this day.
100% we do.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like we all want to belong to something, and it's a good feeling. Obviously, at the time when all that happened in that altercation, you know, I think at such a young age, you were saying that, you know, you were up for like a lot of solicitor fees and everything at that time and everything. But reflecting back now, looking at that, what was the lessons you took from that now, do you think? Not the system or nothing like that, but just like...
So it's cool, man, because it's taught me so much. But
yeah.
At the point of time, I was like, I was never a person to pity myself.
Yeah.
So I just sort of like, okay, pull it up and I'll wear it with pride and go for it, you know. So it was about 150,000 that I had to pay in solicitor and barristers fees from 18 to 21 years old.
Yeah.
To keep myself like out of there on bail. We eventually took a plea and I went in for a little bit, like I said, but that was me finishing high school. Everyone's like, I actually finished, I didn't finish high school. I dropped out 2 months prior to starting construction, but it was still my schoolies. So once that happened, and everything fell apart at schoolies, like everyone's gone on their gap year or whatever, going to start their lives. Mine's been thrown into this giant pit of going, what the hell? So I had no other option but just to pull my boots up and go, okay, I've got to start making money. So I lived on the Gold Coast. I moved away from the family into a granny flat out at Ipswich because I got offered a good job concreting out there. And just worked my ass off. I started on Boxing Day. And I worked all through New Year's Eve, New Year's Day in construction. So that's how I sort of started. And yeah, all my money each week after week, was going to paying solicitor. So making close to $1,000 a week, which is awesome coming straight out of school, working my ass off. But all that money was going. I think I kept $50 for myself each week to buy food, and then that was it. And that went on for 3 years. So while everyone was, you know, still undecided where I'm going to do, I've got too many options. There's too many choices. What do I do? Life's so difficult. You know, for me, the best thing that happened to me was like, you're fucking doing this. That's all you've got to do. And I'm like, okay, I'll do that. So I just did and hustled and grinded, and it taught me so much good work ethic. The skills, I was running crews within a year because I was the guy that had to turn up every day.
Yeah, well, you were in literally your corner and you had to get out of it.
Yeah.
Like you had one choice.
Like a lot of people hire people that have families because they have to, you know, those guys are providing.
Responsibility.
Yeah, so I had the responsibility as an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
Which responsibility people shy away from nowadays, man.
Massively.
But that's where all the reward is.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've thrown yourself in the deep end, and I mean, even now thinking of that and that you had all those fees to pay off and then going to study when you did, like, I mean, you've probably put yourself in a position, like even now people study and they put themselves in debt, which is okay, but it's a lesson along the way that there's always sacrifice to something that you want to put your mind to as well. Just share quickly, obviously among this journey as well, you know, relationships come and go, and as you shared with me as well, that you went on a worldwide trip with your partner at the time and come back, and for the first time, you said probably in your life that you took ownership of what you wanted to do again.
Yeah.
Can you tell the audience what that was and what you wanted to come back and do and why?
Okay. So I'd obviously worked my butt off and got in a position where I worked pretty good. So I was working away at the mines, doing crazy, shifts out there for months at a time, coming back and we had a heap of money. And my fiance at that time was like, I want to leave, I want to get away, I want to go move to London. And I was like, okay, sweet. If that's what you want to do, that's what we'll do.
Yep.
So we sold everything we had, we packed everything up and we did on the way to London, we were traveling around the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were through pretty much majority of the trip through the States. And then she's like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go back. And I was like, fuck. I've literally just gave up everything.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to go back to. So if clean slate, I'm going back to university. I'm going back to do what I wanted to do when I was younger. And that was be an architect. So I applied while I was in New York, staying in the accommodation. It was I wish it was snowing outside. It was at Christmas, but it wasn't, unfortunately, that year.
Yeah.
But yeah, applied for Bond University from New York City, got accepted while I was over there.
Wow.
And then I was like, okay, sweet. I'm excited. If I'm going back, I've got this new thing. So flew back and started Bond's very fast pace. So I think we started on the 10th or it was really early in the year. So yeah, came back from that huge long trip and was straight into it, man. It was cool. It was really
Very
good.
quickly, did you realize that architecture's either what you want or you don't want? Probably.
Yeah, lucky I had a hard slog in life to go do architecture, even though I just had the tenacity for it. Like these kids coming out of school and architecture's tough, man.
Yeah.
You don't sleep. You gotta and you're pushing that creative brain to the limit, and you got big deadlines and yeah.
Why Bond?
That's an interesting one. To be totally honest, it was probably going to be the place where I knew I could have the most influence, or I would meet the most influence.
Yep.
Bond's a prestigious university. I've always been about network.
Yep.
So
Always.
And going back to uni as a person that could provide value to people, I met very amazing people while I was there. Connected that changed my life. And I'm so blessed and grateful for them. But I don't think that would have happened at a normal public university.
Yeah.
That place is just a haven of incredible individuals.
Yeah. We now know obviously that architectural school is called the Abedian School of Architecture, but was that named that then at that time as well?
Correct, yeah.
It was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So along the way, during your studies, obviously working your butt off and doing everything you need to do, you've been introduced to Soheil, which we both know. Where and what did that point in meeting him change your life? Were you introduced to mentorship at that point, or how did that interaction go?
Well, it's funny because this has happened to a few people. It's happened to me, so I know my personal story, but now I've been around for so long. Yeah. Even yourself, we spoke about it the other day. It hits your life at the perfect moment. When you need it the most, it will hit you. Yeah. And fuck, I needed it, bro. I needed it. So coming back, I went back to university, and me and my ex at the time, she was supporting me while I was there. And then I did the first semester. I couldn't work it because I was doing full time at the university, so I started packing shelves at Coles at night time. Right? And then so I was trying to do that to help contribute. It wasn't much; it was a few $100 a week, but it was something, So then, anyway, after a semester or two, after the first semester, she decided it wasn't for her anymore, and we parted ways. Yeah. There's no bad feelings or anything. And then, because she was sort of supporting me while I was that, I went from that to not having anywhere to live or stay. So I had my car that I was using. I was sleeping in the back of that at uni, and I had my dad's workshop. My family, Dad let me stay at his workshop because that's where he was. He had a place there, but it was very far from the university. Yeah. So I'd stay there on weekends, and I'd come late nights at university. A lot of the architecture students sleep in their bloody thing because it's they're doing such big hours, right? So crazy. Every now and then I'd sleep in the car. It'd be a few nights a week. And then, so I was packing shelves, doing all this stuff. And then there's an amazing individual named Arvin that I met at university. I was studying with him, and he introduced me to Soheil. Now, for me, as a 12-year-old kid, I knew who Soheil was.
Mm.
I loved this guy. It's one of the reasons that I was like obsessed with construction and architecture as a kid. I used to catch the bus from Burleigh all the way to Australia Fair in Southport. I used to drive through. I didn't drive. I was on the bus listening to music, being a little emo kid. And I'd go through Surface and see all the new towers going up and Sunland everywhere. And, you know, so I knew that Soheil was a big deal, and I was blown away when I had the opportunity to meet him.
Yeah.
So when I had that moment, man, I was like, yeah, I'm taking it. And yeah, we connected really well.
Mm.
He's an incredible human being, that guy, man.
Yeah. So he runs obviously DSA programs, which we spoke about with Adam, who's part of that as well. That's been on the podcast, and he's talked about it. What has that program and the introduction even to learning more about the Baha'i faith that they believe in has done for your life?
Okay, so DSA came around, one of the more recent ones for me.
I
started with Rui Book 1, which is the most beautiful book in the world.
Yep.
I've probably done it about 30 times. But yeah, it changed my perspective on things, and that book came at the right time along with Soheil's guidance to understand it. You know, you can't just give it to someone
Sure.
who's able to articulate it in a way that made sense to me. Yeah, transformed my life, transformed my spirit, and gave me the belief to understand life, you know, a bit better. And especially after going through so much, you see so much and you can't connect the dots, and the book literally allowed me to.
Yeah, well.
But I've gone through 8 of the books now, which
Wow.
is awesome. We still do weekly books, and I'm doing DSA book 2 now.
Yeah.
But DSA is incredible, man. That one's, yeah, that's the next level, because it steers away a bit from the more deeper meanings and stuff behind the Baha'i faith, which is amazing. But when you go straight to the DSA stuff, it can connect with everyone.
Real world stuff.
Real world stuff, you know. So, and it's stuff that can transform the world in reality. That's what it is about.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I think, and just in reflection of that, is everyone that you meet that is currently in the DSA program as well, it's quite amazing that everyone, no matter where they are in life and what they are in their career, they're taking time out of their work to actually work on themselves to be better and be better for everyone and wherever they are. So it's pretty cool. Construction and architecture, it's quite a specific niche you've got. The fact that you've got your architectural background and now running a very successful construction company. What point did you realize that the construction wasn't just a career for you? You've mentioned it was more of a calling, if anything. What point did you realize that was it for you?
Well, when I was studying architecture school, I was studying it and loving it. But architecture's got 2 sides.
Yeah.
You get the design side, which everyone loves and adores, and then you get the documentation side.
Right.
So there's the exciting artistic side, and then there's the very technical engineering sort of drawing side.
Yeah.
And then just having the reality of knowing these are what all my skills are. I've spent 15 years doing this stuff already. You know, I've seen everything and done everything with it. And now with this architecture knowledge, I've really got an opportunity to transform and reshape the way we do things. Because I've been a subby. I've been on the architecture side. I've been a builder now. I see all things, you know. So it really allows me to connect the dots better. There's like a really disconnected thing I find in the industry right now. And this is why Soheil's done so friggin' well, is because he did everything in-house.
Yep.
He was his own architect. He was his own designer. He was his own builder. They collabed with architects, but it was all within. So they priced the project, did everything from the start with the money at the forefront as well as design.
Yeah.
You know, not just someone designing something amazing, handing the builder, and the builder's like, how the hell do I build this?
Doesn't work.
Yeah, I can build it, but it's 5 times what you thought, and then that person leaves disheartened. So
that's I was just speaking off air, but that's a big part of where probably stuff just doesn't even get to ground. Like the construction doesn't even start because the client is just so, their expectations are blown out, to be honest. Because it's really nice and these drawings look incredible sometimes, but reality sinks in real quick, especially now. Like
we're facing a huge crisis, man.
Yeah.
Stuff's just getting more and more expensive from a whole perspective.
And why, like, maybe just speak about that quickly. Why is that the case? Is that the trades are putting their value up? The labour?
It's pretty simple.
Yep.
We had obviously COVID and that with materials. That was the material side of things.
Yep.
But we have like huge, the government's trying to build so many houses, or say it are, and it's doing all these huge commercial projects, right? All these huge commercial projects are EBA, they're union based. So these trades go and work on these jobs and get paid the same amount of money that I used to fly the other side of the country and be deserted away from my family a month at a time.
Sure.
So these guys have gone working there, and that's the money they command now. So the smaller, not the smaller, but there's these giant building companies that build normal homes for your everyday person. They've still got to be built by the same craftsmen and tradespeople.
Yeah.
They're not different.
No.
So these guys are over here commanding that money, and then the builders are out here trying to hunt around and find the right people to do it. A, try and get a good enough job so the building's good, and then on top of that, meet the budget. And that's why you see builders going, It's all these big jobs, you know, and it's the unions, it's government, a few different things with it, but
probably a lot we're not really talking about too much as a country, and we're talking like big, well-known building companies going under.
Yeah.
Which is pretty bad, you know.
Massive.
You know, and if that just keeps going, that's just the effect of the last couple of years. What's next 10, 15 years looks like if nothing changes,
We're
right?
in the tail end of COVID now.
Yeah.
It's happening. But like I said, we still got to keep building, man. We've
Yep.
got immigration and stuff coming.
Yeah.
And needs it. We need it.
Yeah.
Baby boomers are going to all retire, and we're going to need more workers.
Yeah. Tell me the turning point that took you from a construction company doing one or two jobs here and there to now having multiple jobs on the go, plus a pipeline of a lot of work still.
Okay.
Because that for me, on the outside looking in that industry, that is, you know, there's a lot of builders out there that are looking for work still,
Yeah.
but, you know.
It's I think everything comes back to mindset, and it's all good to say you've got a hungry mindset and you can do all this stuff, right? But I'm a big person that you can't fake things.
Yep.
Right. And I needed to get runs on the board. I did it. I went and did one house at a time. Crafted everything. I worked out how to do this. I went through the problems. I went through the issues, you know, and then once I sort of felt like I was comfortable with lift off, I was like, okay, right, sweet. I'm not just going to do one job at a time anymore. I'm not going to take 6 months to find a job in between. I want something stable. Let's grow something real. I've got enough mentors around me that inspire me daily and seeing what they've been able to do. And it's not just about becoming the biggest, baddest, whatever.
No.
You're providing jobs and adding value, and you're helping shape the city. We're almost at that generation now where we were the people we were looking up to.
Yeah.
We have the power to influence. We
Yeah.
have the power to change now. The other guys are starting to slow down and retire.
Yeah.
Like, we've got to step up. I was like, if not now, then when?
Yeah.
You know? So once I sort of felt like, okay, I'm not faking anymore. I know what I'm doing. Let's go. You know?
You just talked about mentors and connecting with the right people. How much emphasis do you imply on the value of connecting with people? Is that like, would you say that's one of the biggest things you can do in life is value that?
Yeah. Connection's massive, man. Like, for me, growing up, I would have thought, no, I'm not. I'm a pretty insecure guy. I'm not. But my story was I'd tell myself that.
Yeah.
And I'd tell myself I don't like so much being around people. And it was because I lacked confidence. And then I look back in my life and I'm like, I've never not lived with anyone. Other than that time I was in a granny flat.
Yeah.
I said, I can't remember when I went and lived by myself. I never did. I was always living with my mates, this or a partner, you know. So connection is deep to me, and I didn't even realize it was something I sort of reflected on last year.
Yeah, well.
You know, so connection's massive. Having the right people around you, holding space, you know. So
a part of that's giving back to other people that you probably see. And you've talked a little bit last week with me just about how much almost what you've been through, how much emotion you hold by trying to help people now because it's important to you. Especially in construction, like I've been on trade sites as well, and it can get quite fiery. In some trades, they don't like each other. How do you think that can change? Like, and what space do you hold for your own workers on your construction site to make sure that stuff's not happening now?
It's much easier to control with your own team.
Yeah.
And then subbies, but if you be the role model, it's the best way to do it, right? So like around here, we do this. Around here, we do that.
Yeah.
Like you're always saying these cultural things to try and bring everyone back into the standard, right? But you train your own team up in a good culture. Culture in general is just making more of yourself when you're not around, right? So you practice your values, your beliefs within your company, and you train your team on it. We just finished a big training session on Monday for the full day.
Cool.
And it's all about values, mate.
As a team.
As a team.
Wow.
Values. Because it's the only thing that drives you. If I want to get something out of my worker, I don't try and do it with money. I know what drives him. I know what his value is, and I pull on it. If his value is family, I'll say, mate, you wouldn't do this for your family. Why are you doing it here?
Yeah.
So the values are how you shift people.
When was the last time you would think even just like a construction-led company would pull up everyone and talk about their values for a day?
No, 100%.
Oh, mate, like never.
And mate, it's inspired by Soheil and Saba, what they're doing, mate. They've ran all this stuff within their own company for years.
Correct.
And I just saw the enormous success they had. And mate, if it works for them, it's definitely going to work for me and my small business.
Yeah.
You know?
And I hope like, and this is why I wanted to bring this podcast to form, because I thought, I know all these stories from individuals now that have seen that and brought it back into their own workplace and seeing what it can do. Everyone sees the results, the success, what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. But no one understands the background information that is going into why people are so happy to work for you, why people are actually looking at your stuff and everything like that. Like everyone looks at their success and goes, well, they've had a lot of money along the way and that's the only reason they're successful. Like that's the last thing they care about, to be honest.
100%. Couldn't.
It's crazy.
We're changing lives and we're changing the city.
Yeah. Let's talk about, there was a point in the conversation last week that you were telling me about, obviously, and if you're happy to discuss this, is you lent on the gateway to escape your own sort of fear of your own potential with drugs and so forth. Why is that, do you think? And then how have you changed that now? Like how have you shaped that to be something now that you're not scared of?
Okay. So it's something most of us go through, man. It's just whether people feel comfortable enough to talk about it.
Definitely.
It's mental health. It's all sorts of stuff, But there's partying. There's all different ways of doing it. And a lot of it is self-sabotage, in my opinion. Like it happened as a habit or a behavior when I was younger. It was something that was passed down and taught and just sort of ingrained in and never questioned, you know. So it was just sort of behavior that was always there. And then now as I've gotten older and it was like I gave it up and then stuff would come back and it would creep back in. And the reason I found recently, which I shared with you, is it creeps back in because I still thought I wasn't worthy.
Yeah.
I still thought I wasn't worthy of the success or the potential. It was scary. What is the saying? It's like our greatest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our greatest fear is the unlimitedness of our potential.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so when you finally feel your feet are starting to move faster under your feet, when you're running down a hill and you feel your feet go fast, shit, stop. It's kind of the momentum happens like that in life with your business and success and relationships and everything. And the moment you get on a bit of a track, if you've come from a sort of poor upbringing, you automatically go, this feels uncomfortable.
Yeah, what's going on?
What's happening? I need to jump back in. And then you self-sabotage and get yourself back in that position. I'm in another big group of, a big business group, and they taught me this thing about the piss pool, right? And the piss pool is you're in the piss pool with everyone, and it's super comfortable. You don't realise you're in the piss pool. You're surrounded by piss, but it's super comfy. I know it's a funny analogy, guys.
We'll take
it.
But
take it. And then you get out, and you're like, you're not in the piss anymore. And your life is starting to progress, but you're cold. Everyone's in there going, come jump back in.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, fuck, I'll get back in there. It's nice and warm.
Yeah.
And the longer you stay out of it, the more you realize it's the piss pool. So you just don't want to get back in there. And when you're out of it and you're free of it, you never want to jump back in again.
It's crazy you brought this up because even yesterday, you'll get through your day and you'll be easily just going through your day. And unless you stop and reflect or have someone say, you can be something else, or you can be something bigger than what you're thinking right now. Like even yesterday afternoon, I was saying to my partner, I said, far out. I said like, and it's about that. It was going on this momentum track, and I think I was self-sabotaging myself because I was like, am I in the right place now? Am I not? Like, what am I thinking? And I'm like, I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing. And, but you know what? Like trust along the process and patience in the process as well. And I think the biggest thing that you've done is your persistence has been just so strong. Like, and because you've been in a position of hardship and challenges in your life, you just give it a crack. Like you've got no fear now to just jump in and give it a crack. As you said, everyone has their own sort of individual fear here and there, but it's good that you recognize that now, because I think a lot of people won't recognize, and you're right, mate. We'll all be the same. We'll all just do this life, and you'll get to 70 and you'll be like, what did I do?
Exactly. And mate, it's all in your subconscious talking to yourself. You just got to make yourself conscious. If you make yourself conscious of it, if you don't get that uncomfortable feeling in your stomach, you're not, because as soon as you're aware of it, it will shift something in your stomach, make you feel uncomfortable that you want to make the shift. You have to get uncomfortable to change.
Yeah, crazy. Let's talk a bit about the future. You have a beautiful wife now, Madeline. Couple girls, is it?
One girl.
One girl?
Yeah.
How has fatherhood changed your perspective on life from what it was before as well?
I mean, I always wanted to have a kid. It was cool. Maddie wasn't quite ready.
Yeah.
And I was pushing her for a bit. And then she came in and told me, and she's like, look at this. And I was like, what is it? And she's like, look at this, you idiot. It was a pregnancy thing. And I'm like, oh, yes. Yeah. And I like jumped up and she's like, oh. And then anyway, she's the most amazing mother. She's incredible, man. Well, you see women really turn into what they're supposed to be, mothers. It's just, to see that shift in human nature is awesome. But yeah, until you go through it, you can't. You can try to describe it. But man, yeah, it changes. You just feel like you've started your life.
Well, yeah.
You feel like you've started.
It's that next thing.
It's the next thing. And it's a whole nother set of hurdles and learning and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of responsibility too.
Yeah, and that responsibility is tough, and we struggled with the first 2 years, combating who you think you are as a person and how you behave, and just slipping back into bad habits. But when it's like everything. You're not going to get anything perfect at the start, and don't judge yourself on it.
That probably just leads into that next question then, and obviously I think it's something that you live by, and Soheil said this too, is make the wrong decision and go and make it right. Tell me how that saying has affected your life today, and jumping into that next thing and just knowing that you'll make it right along the way. It's because that's fatherhood, right? Motherhood. No one's actually ready for it.
Yeah,
everyone wants to think, we've got to be ready for it, but at the end of the day, like even to my parents out there, like they had me really early, and I adore that because they just made it right along the way. And you're never the best. You can't say you're the best, but you just always try and turn up and be the best. But what's life like now for you with opportunities that you take on and knowing that saying? Like,
yeah, it's been like that for a while. Soheil was one that pushed me to start saying yes to things. It's so hard. But once you start saying yes, it's hard to say no, and you do need to know when to.
Yeah.
But if it's an opportunity, man, and if it doesn't scare you, then what's the point? Like, it should scare you.
Yeah.
And unless you do something, you'll never, once you do one thing that was outside what you thought you could, and you've done it and you've achieved it, you go, the potential's there. You can do anything, right? Once you do something that was slightly, I never think I could do that. Think about something in your life. I never thought I'd be able to do that. And then you do it. You're like, whoa, okay. And then you see huge things that happen throughout the world and what success people have. Don't be afraid of it, man. Like, go tackle it. Start with smaller things.
Yeah.
But build your way up. And, man, if you have the courage and you're living by the values and the principles, have a virtuous life, you will kick its butt and you will achieve it. And you'll find a way. And it may not, you may not hit that mark of what you wanted to get, but I guarantee you something else will come out of it
Yeah.
that you learnt, achieved, and it'll take you on another path, or it will be not quite there, but it's a stepping stone to that.
Right. Even everything. Well, actually, I was just speaking to my Sasan about it this morning, and everything is a stepping stone right along the way. Whether you're at this point or you're that point or that point, it's all just a long way of growth and probably just understanding where you're at. But if you don't take an opportunity, how would you ever know? Right.
100%. Have you seen the video? There's a video of a ball rolling down a hill, and it's a constant line like that.
Yeah, right.
And then there's another with hills.
Mm-hmm.
And what it shows is even though you have these ups and downs, the one with the hills finishes way before the one with the straight.
No way.
So a slow, smooth life, you don't get there. But this guy, the ups, this headache, boom, boom. It's a really cool video. I'll find it and share it with you.
Yeah.
And the ones with all these ups and downs, even though it has to climb back up and that one's going this way, it gains momentum again and overpasses it.
Really
So
interesting.
it's a really cool little metaphor.
That's really cool because that's obviously a lot to do with gravity. But Michael spoke about in the last podcast is that momentum will always just take you one way if you lean into it, and that's that. Like,
I've got to add too.
yeah,
To come on this after Michael and
Yeah.
Soheil is a huge honour. So, mate, feel very privileged to follow those incredible individuals.
I think you've got a lot to share to the community, and I think hiding a story like that is selfish, to be honest. I think you should share it, which is really good. So thank you for doing that. You've got plenty of projects on the go right now, and some really special ones, and you've got plenty coming up, as you shared. But what's next for yourself, and what's next for Grimmond Construction out there?
We just want to keep doing what we're doing, man.
Yep.
Keep leveling up. That's the same practice that I've had to get here, One step at a time, we're slightly better. And every day we're slightly better. And then we have a family environment we don't leave anyone behind. Like everyone that's part of the team, man, I care of them like family.
Yeah.
And we're all going to go up together. Gold Coast is a tremendous place, man. And we've got so much cool stuff that's going to happen here. I started my business here with a reason. I've traveled around the world, man.
Yeah.
I wanted to get my footings in here early and start building my company, for that reason.
It is a cool spot.
It's unreal, man. So I want to promote it. I want to be part of changing the face of the city for the better. And yeah, I'm super excited for what's ahead.
Contributing to the landscape of our city,
100%.
which is nice. To finish, if you could go back to your 18-year-old self, what would you say now?
I'd laugh at him.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I'd do. Taking the world so seriously and not having a clue what I was doing.
Really? Yeah.
But yeah, I would just be like, do exactly what I did. I don't regret anything, 100%. But one thing I learned really well in prison was patience. And you got to, whatever it is, if you're trying to win a job, be patient. If you're trying to communicate with someone, be patient. The patience, you give people time and space and don't pressure people, you'll get exactly what you were supposed to get.
That's good. Thank you. Look, everyone out there, anything to build homes, luxury homes, multi-res, duplex, stuff like this, hit up Grimmond Construction. They're an amazing company. And as you can now understand, there's a lot of values behind what they're doing. So, Nate, thank you for coming on. And hopefully we shared your story well. And, mate, thank you for just being who you are.
Cool. Thank you, Ty. Appreciate it, brother.